episode of the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. It's a bonus episode,
Hey, my friends, it's Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast, and we're doing a bonus episode every now and then on Saturday when I want to talk about something other than the book of Matthew. I'm just grab a microphone and we process whatever. Well, I got something I want to process with you, and I'm going to warm up to it by giving you a little backstory. I started working on 10-Minute Bible Hour in November of 2014. I published the first thing on my YouTube channel in February of 15. I started the podcast in October of 19, and a bunch of you who are listening to this, we've known each other, or we've been hanging out on the internet in one way or another for that long. So this is a long time. And as all that has gone on and things have grown, more people have come around and hung out and been a part of this, I found myself getting more and more emails, direct messages, Reddit messages, things like that. Just people reaching out from all over the place regarding their own church stuff, their own ministry that they're involved in. And usually what I hear from you is just a request for brainstorming together, for advice, for thinking it through. Because you, wherever you are wrestling with the exact same thing I'm wrestling with, which is, okay, we believe there's a God behind all of this. We think there's a God behind the Bible. We think the Bible is reliable. And we think that the kingdom that we talk about as we go through the book of Matthew on this podcast all the time is the truest, realest thing. And the values of the kingdom are beautiful and life-giving. And we see all of that beauty, and we're trying to figure out how to articulate that in such a way that we could give it away to our friends and neighbors who maybe don't see that beauty yet. Maybe don't believe anything, or they're not Christians. They're not a part of any of this. Like, look, I think it's true. I hope I've been fully transparent in this, but to all of those of you who I just love having here who are not Christians, but you care about the content, like, I totally hope you will be Christians someday. I think that would be awesome. Now, I have made peace with the reality that you might not come to the same conclusions as me, and I have more than made peace with, golly, I like you and I care about you wherever you land on these things. But look, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I think it's all true, and I think there's life behind it, and I hope you see the beauty in it, and I hope that at some point, straight up, you become Christians. Okay, all of that said, I think a ton of us who are in the church and who are outside of the church and Christianity, I mean, we can all look at the world and see that things are in a weird, different, unprecedented place. Stuff changed big time. And the way that you would walk out into the great wide world and just say stuff about God 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 75 years ago, like a lot of people are still trying to do it like that, but we look at it and we're like, it's just, like, I don't know, it's falling on deaf ears. It's something changed. And it's changed everywhere. Everybody's feeling all kinds of pressure because we live in this weird, unprecedented moment where the majority of historical, technological, social connectedness progress has happened in like 20 years. It's so oddly imbalanced, and all the people who came before us, they had time to work this stuff through. But the people who are occupying soil on planet Earth right now, we're the guinea pigs, man. We're dealing with so much human responsibility to sift through what it's like for all of us to be in a room together. I mean, it's a digitally augmented connection that we have through the internet, but we're all in touch. We share news stories. We share global stories. We share a global economy, and we don't know what to do with that. Come on. That takes a long time to figure out. And so, yeah, the church is rattling a little bit, not going perfectly everywhere. People don't totally know what to do. For that matter, though, the not church is rattling a little bit. All the institutions outside of Christianity, they don't know what to do either. It's hard because we don't know how to talk to each other yet, and we haven't figured that out in the age of the internet. We're all kind of flirting with the idea of resorting to, just forget the conversation. These people can't be reasoned with. We're just going to have to go with raw power to get things in line. I hope we don't give in to that darker impulse, but come on, we've all been tempted by it. And by all, I mean like all of us have been tempted by it. It's a difficult time. And so as I hear from people who are trying to figure out what to do with the church, and as I've been hearing from you over the years and years that I've been doing this internet stuff, one, I love the questions that I'm getting because they're the right questions and they're the ones I'm asking too. How do we make our church work? how do we say this in a way, live this in a way, execute this in a way that instead of just being slavishly loyal to some systems and structures we used to do, is instead crafted around, I don't know, like God and the Bible, and also an empathy to the people we'd like to see the beauty in this. You're asking the right questions. But thing number 2 about all that I'm hearing from you is that I'm frustrated that I've lacked the bandwidth to do anything about that. For the most part, I have not been able to be very helpful because of all this other stuff I'm doing. And for years, I was running a church while doing this on the side. Eventually, because of you, this grew to the point where I had to pick. And so I was like, well, I've done church for a long time. That was awesome. I'm going to go do this internet thing full time now. So I do, but I have so much that I've put on myself that I'm trying to tackle every day that I just feel like I haven't been able to give a fair shake to the right and logical questions that you've been asking. Well, I gamed some things out with some of my friends who are in the same boat and seeing the playing field the same way. And a while back, we decided that we wanted to put together a thing that until now is sort of operated in the background of all that's going on. But for the last several months, we've been working on a thing called Eyes Up. Eyes Up is just a catch-all ministry side to what we do that is meant to set us up to better respond to all that comes out of 10-Minute Bible Hour, or at least that's where it's starting, to respond to all of the questions that come in via email and so forth, the requests for help with church or ideas or a brainstorming session or what do we do with this? And so we hired a guy. The guy we hired is Aaron Utecht, my buddy, who's been around this channel. He's worked on it for a really long time. And Aaron has started chipping away at making a thing that would enable us to, and by us, I mean particularly Aaron, to take the values and the tone and the idea of what we do here on 10-Minute Bible Hour and game it out with those of you who are asking for help in terms of what you're doing with whatever ministry, kingdom stuff you have going on in your world. And we're hitting the publish button on that really this month. The website, as you hear this, will be up. It's pretty simple, but it's just our little nonprofit Eyes Up, how can we help you starting point website. You're going to see 2 things on there if you go to the website, which I'm linking down below in the show notes. One, you're going to see a button that says something to the effect of, want help with your church thing? You can click the button. You can shoot us a note. We're going to see if there's anything that we might be able to do to be helpful or just some ideas we could kick back and forth together. Additionally, there's another thing on there, which is a new podcast. This podcast is not my podcast, but I'm going to be a part of it. And I'd be really grateful if just to help get the thing off the ground and to encourage Aaron, if you would go over, subscribe to it, give it a listen, even if it's not perfectly suited for the questions you're asking and what you're doing. The podcast that we're running through Eyes Up, this ministry side of what we're doing here, is called Good Ideas for Churches. Now, I'm going to be around it some. I feature on the first episode of it. I will be there to game out some things here and there. But for the most part, Aaron is going to have his hands on the wheel of that. And what he's going to do is just go line up conversations with people who are asking the same questions you're asking. If you're leading a church or working on ministry stuff, that being, how do we do this? How do we make this work in these weird, unprecedented times? Aaron's just going to go have conversations with people who found something, anything that feels like a step forward in that regard, something that's effective in communicating the love of God and the reality of the values of the kingdom to people who aren't in it yet. Aaron is going to find conversations with people who have figured out ways to frame and set a tone in church that has been effective for people who are in that church. We have both been around to see all of the slick ideas that have come down the pike, like do this, all Christians, all churches should do this or that, this will make everything right. I don't believe in that. I don't think there is some singular solution that if you just buy this book and do what that guy says, now everything's going to work. I think more than ever, if you want to communicate the values of the kingdom, the message of the gospel, the reality of God to people you care about who aren't Christians and don't believe in that stuff yet, I mean, it's got to be a human. Like, you just got to figure out how to have an actual conversation with actual people and invest actual time. And so we're on the lookout for people who are figuring that out. Big churches, small churches, whatever. And as you go and you listen to this podcast, what you're going to find is some of the ideas that you hear, you're going to be like, dang, we could probably do that. That would make sense. That's progress. That's proactive doing something. I like that lady's idea. I like that dude's idea. Awesome. The podcast is designed for you to hear a good idea for churches or ministry or whatever, and then to adapt it as you need to and steal it and use it in your own context in a way that is effective. So the first episode of that Good Ideas for Churches podcast is available now anywhere you get podcasts. It is also available through the Eyes Up website. It is also available linked below. That podcast is a joint venture, this sounds so formal, of me and the 10-Minute Bible Hour, as well as Eyes Up, which is its own entity designed to help churches and pastors and Christians figure out what to do in these strange, unprecedented times. So in summary, thank you for being a part of 10-Minute Bible Hour for however long you've been a part of it. I'm just going to keep doing all the stuff that I've been doing exactly as we've been doing it because I love it, and we're going to keep going in this direction too. Thank you to everyone who's reached out to me over the years to say, we are kindred spirits. I am also trying to figure it out. We might not believe all the same things, but these times are weird. Do you have an opinion or any guidance that you might be able to offer here? You're awesome. You are a kindred spirit. Thank you. 3, I'm sorry I have not been able to engage with all of that at the level I would like to. I've done my best. And 4, because I have felt that pressure and so badly wanted to do something in response to what I am hearing back from you, we're doing this Eyes Up thing. And I'm so excited to be getting that off the ground and to see where it goes and what it does. So as you reach out to me, I am going to nudge you in that direction because that's what we've built to help address those questions. And 5, Aaron Utecht, my buddy, my friend, my longtime colleague, and a brilliant man who thinks hard about this stuff and whose head and personality are in the right place, he is going to have his hands on the wheel of this Eyes Up thing. And he is eager, with my backing and help, to game things out with churches and leaders thinking through these big questions we're talking about right now. And finally, the biggest thing that is immediately available that he is doing to move that forward is this new joint venture podcast called Good Ideas for Churches. And once again, I would be so very, very encouraged and grateful if you would just go look that up, hit subscribe on your podcast app, give a few episodes a shot, see if it's useful. If you know somebody it would be useful to, pass it along to them. I think Aaron's going to do a great job with that. And I personally am so excited to have something coming online that can better help with the good questions, the right questions that you've been asking. And I don't know exactly where all of that is going, but hey, it's off to a start. And isn't that how everything works? At some point, you just got to push the go button and see what happens. So I'm amped about it. Thanks to all of you for being a part of the 10-Minute Bible Hour. We're just going to keep doing this stuff. Thanks in advance to all of you who were able to go and check out the new Good Ideas for Churches podcast. That's a joint venture between what we're doing here and this new Eyes Up thing as well. I'm excited to see where all of it goes. All right, have a good one. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. More of Matthew on Monday.
Bonus episode of the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. It's a bonus episode of the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Come on now.